Hello class, welcome to Kesra e-learning platform. My name is Caroline Wambua and I'll be your trainer today for ICMS management training, pre-ICMS clearance. This lesson covers the mandate of customs new initiatives, pre-ICMS cargo clearance process, customs reform path, and systems integrated in SIMBA 2005. The objective of the lesson is that at the end of the lesson, you should be able to explain the factors that led to the automation of custom systems. 2, highlight the systems integrated with SIMBA 2005. 3, highlight the challenges of implementing manual and automated cargo clearance systems. And finally, highlight the customs new initiatives. The delivery of the topic is divided into 4 parts. 1 is customs new initiatives, 2, cargo clearance process, 3, customs reform path, and finally 4, SIMBA and ACE subsystems. We have 3 learning activities that include 1, reading of the reference materials, 2, you can listen to the video, and 3, we can have the discussions on this topic. So let's look at what are the functions of customs. Customs was formed in 1978 under the Ministry of Finance. Its mandate include, but not limited to, 1, collection of government revenue. This government revenue is important for the economic improvement of the infrastructure, or the government needs the revenue to run its affairs. So customs is mandated to collect levies like import duty, excise duty, VAT, export duty, and other agency levies, which it accounts for the revenue for the government. Number 2, customs is mandated to facilitate legitimate trade. We are supposed to protect our society from importation and exportation of prohibited or restricted items. Prohibited means that these imports or exports are not supposed to be brought to the country or exported out of the country, respectively. Restricted means that the exports must meet some criteria or the imports must meet some criteria before they are allowed entry into the country. These criteria may be in form of permits or some approvals. So therefore, it is the responsibility of customs to enforce these restrictions and prohibitions. The last but not the least, customs is mandated to collect statistics on behalf of Kenya Bureau of Statistics. Customs is mandated to provide data on the export or trade data for exports and also imports. Let us look at the customs cargo clearance process. When the cargo arrives into the country, it's going to come through the following modes of transport. The car represents the land transport or the road transport. The ship represents the sea transport, while the aircraft represents the air transport. We have also the rail transport. So cargo will come into our country through those 4 means of transport. When the cargo arrives into the country, it's supposed to go to a warehouse or what we are calling a customs controlled area. This is manned by our customs area. They control the entry and the exit of cargo from the cargo controlled area. When the cargo is in this cargo controlled area, that can be a station, can be a CFS or can be a port. When the cargo is in these places, then there is need for documentary submission or submission of documents to the to customs. The submission of the documents is done by either the importer or the export or the clearing agent. The clearing agent acts on behalf of the importer. When the documents are submitted to the current system, SIMBA 2005, we have a centralized document processing center whose mandate is to confirm the correctness of the documents submitted into the system and the level of compliance of the documents that have been submitted. Once the compliance is okay, taxes have been made or exemption has been approved or a bond has been approved and attached to the declaration, then the DPC officer issues a long room pass. When a long room pass has been issued, it is the responsibility of the head verification it's the responsibility of the clearing agent to prepare a file and take that file to the head verification officer of that place of discharge where the cargo will be cleared. The head verification officer, upon receipt of the file, allocates that file to a verification officer. A verification officer will in turn schedule a verification, invite the partner government agency, invite the clearing agent or the importer and any other interested parties to come and witness the verification of cargo. During verification, if there is any discrepancy, extra goods have been found, or the quality is different, or the items are different, then the verification officer can collect extra revenue. Extra revenue is collected on a form we call miscellaneous form or form F-147. Once the F-147 is generated by the customs officer, it is given to the clearing agent who liaises with the importer, and they are given three options. Option number one, the agent or the importer can accept and pay taxes, or they can reject and refer the file back to the station head or to the HVO or to valuation to demonstrate transaction value. Or number three, they can pay and protest. If they don't want to a delay in the clearance of cargo, they can pay and then they go to the tribunal for demonstration of transaction value. Once the amount of money has been paid or extra revenue is paid, then the head verification officer releases the consignment, and the partner government agencies, they collect their levies accordingly, and therefore the goods are released at the entrance or the gates of the CFS or the port gates, and then they are released and transported to the importer's premises. Then we have this last part called PCA, post-clearance audit. They come after goods have been released, based on the compliance level of the trader. Then they can go to the importer. They confirm things like the invoices, the documentations, funds transfer, etc. So this is the current status of cargo clearance. Let us look at the customs reform part, the journey that we have walked. If you look at the years which are written there, 80s, 90s, 2005, 2010, 2013 to 2020, we are following what we call PESTEL, P-E-S-E-L, political, economic, social, technical, ecological, and legal environment. What do we mean? That is, in customs was formed in 1978. Those are 80s. During this time, remember, customs was mandated to perform the functions that we have discussed. In the 80s, we had manual processes with a lot of paperwork, overcrowded offices. This led to a lot of delays. So come 1989, there was a system that was formed called BOFIN. BOFIN stands for Bishop Office Freight Forwarders Integrated Network System. That was semi-automated, meaning there were parts which were automated and other parts were not automated, meaning that we did not achieve the full benefits of automation. BOFIN collapsed in 1992 and people went back to the manual processes. But the year 1995, KRA was formed, mandated, given the mandate of revenue collection. Top of the agenda of KRA was how they were to revive the BOFIN. And therefore, in 1996, BOFIN was revived and it was utilized in all customs areas up to the year 2005. Come to the year 2003, there was the NAC government that was formed, and top of the agenda was how we are going to modernize our processes to seal the loopholes in revenue collection. Therefore, in the year 2004, a team of customs reform modernization was formed. The mandate was to collect requirements, look at the pain areas, go out and benchmark. Then a tender was floated. Several countries submitted their bids, and Gainde 2000, a company for Gainde Senegal, won the tender, and it was mandated to come up with a system. And the system was developed in 2004 and fully rolled out in 2005. That is why it's called SIMBA 2005. And it has its modules where we tried to automate most of their processes. Allbus file, Allbus is a system for submission of pre-clearance documents like the permits, like the IDF. And this one has been used up to the year 2015 when it was stopped after the introduction or implementation of the single window. We have had enforcement tools that came on board like the scanners, the speed boats. These were to facilitate cargo clearance by the customs officers. The year 2010 is referred to as the second phase of reforms. In this second phase of reforms, you talk about the constitution was enacted. So there was need for faster service delivery. And to facilitate our processes, the valuation database or KRA valuation system was implemented to ensure that we look at the lowest price that has been accepted by customs, and when a declaration is submitted, then that system is supposed to pick the outlier. The next system that was implemented is Manifest Management System, MMS. Although SIMBA system has a module for manifest, we felt that there was need to have an indicator system for submission of a manifest. A manifest is a document that shows a list of all cargo on board a vessel. So manifest management system is important for submission of the manifest by the shipping agent, then the approval of the manifest by the manifest officer or customs officer, approval of amendments, and approval of supplementary manifests. Then there's a system called RADEX. RADEX stands for Revenue Administrators Digital Data Exchange, RADEX. We realized that in SIMBA, if cargo is destined to a country like Uganda, that used to be declared as a transit declaration. And if you look at the CIF, cost insurance as freight or the customs value was very high. But when the clearing agent or the importer is declaring in Uganda, the customs value is normally very low. So there was need for the two systems, Askuda Uganda and Simba 2005, to exchange data on the reform. Next is ECTS, Electronic Cargo Tracking System. Before the implementation of the ECTS, we used to have the manual escort, the human escort, customs officer escorting 10 or more trucks. That means that the officer was supposed to sit in one truck, travel in one truck. When they come to the weighing bridge, they stop there, they wait for all the drivers to arrive before the rotation is done. So there was a lot of delays. Let's come to 2013. There was a new government that came on board, and one of the agenda was to reform, to come up with the systems that are going to facilitate the cargo clearance. One of the systems was CBM. This is not a system, it is an initiative, coordinated border management. You find out that when we have manual processes, then we have uncoordinated border management. What happens at the borders where the partner government agencies, they do verification at different times. Other than the verification at different times, you find that cargo is verified on one side of the country, and when it crosses to the other country, the cargo is still verified. Hence the need for joint verification between the partner government agencies and also between the partner states. Single Customs Territory, SCT. This replaced the concept of RANEX, SCT, Single Customs Territory. It implements what we call destination model. This means that cargo, if it is in Mombasa and is destined to Uganda, that cargo will be cleared, will be declared in the Askuda system, while the cargo, it is still at Mombasa. Taxes will be made, and in Askuda, release of the goods will be done in Askuda. Exit notes are given through Simba system, and then they are the Ugandan revenue officers who release the cargo. Then that information comes to our manifest management system, where our customs officers, they generate what we call a road manifest. A road manifest allows the movement of the truck from Mombasa through the Kenyan territory until it is in Uganda. And also we have arming of the seals, regional electronic cargo tracking seals. You arm the cargo when it is in Kenya until it goes to the country's destination. Another system is Simba upgrade, or what we call Simba 2014. There was need to enhance Simba. There was need to upgrade the Simba to the latest platform, and we came up with a system that was rolled out in the country for internal staff called Simba 2014. Next is Simba single window integration. There was need because now this OBA system did not bring on board many partner government agencies. There was need for Kenya to develop a single window, which is a single portal for submission of pre-clearance and clearance documents. Therefore, this single window is implemented by KenTrade, and we needed customs to integrate with the KenTrade system. So there was need for Simba a single window integration, where if a document is approved in single window, then that data is submitted through Simba to allow for processing. And the reverse is true. When a declaration is released in Simba, that information goes to single window for release by the partner government agencies. The last system is called ICMS. That is the basis of your training. ICMS stands for Integrated customs management system. It is the baby on the block. It now comes in to seal the loopholes in revenue. It comes in to re-engineer the customs processes. It comes in to automate the manual processes. It comes in to solve the current system challenges. That is the reason why you are in this training. Before automation of customs processes, from the narrative that I'm giving you is that customs faced a lot of challenges. One is inconsistent procedures across customs process station. That is, what was happening in one station like Taveta is different from what is happening in Busia. What is happening in Malaba is different from what is happening in Busia. Next was inaccurate trade statistics and management reports. Manual processes, they don't allow us to get correct statistics because when you ask for information, this data will be compiled manually, and manual processes are prone to error. Another challenge is poor workload management. The supervisor cannot tell at a glance how much work as he or she allocated to his or her team. Poor workload management. And this would lead to delays. It will also lead to corrupt practices. Next is uncoordinated border management. This comes in because we don't have a system where we can schedule verification. Each partner government agency comes to verify the cargo at their own time. And the last challenge is high cost of administration as well as high cost of doing business. Let's assume that we have 30 partner government agencies, and that file must be stamped by 30 partner government agencies. This means that you are going to spend a lot of money to take that file to all those partner government agencies, and the cost of administration leads to delays in cargo clearance and leads to high cost of doing business. What is the result of these challenges? One of the results was the congestion at the port of Mombasa and also at ICD. Congestion. That means that because of manual processes, you take a lot of time to go to the partner government agencies. You take a lot of time for people to come for verification. So in the end, we have congestion at the port. And that's how containers get lost. And that is how people spend a lot of or pay storage charges to the CFSs, storage charges to the ports. Another disadvantage or result of manual process is long queues at the border stations. Sometimes the queues are so long, more than 30 kilometers. Why? Assuming there's the escort, human escort, customs escort of the consignment. They have to wait. These ones have to be stamped. The documents have to be physically received. And this is going to lead to long queues. Another one is at the clearance stations. Congestion, long queues. People are crowded there. This is an avenue of corruption. This is an avenue of delays. So it is as a result of manual processes. If there is no manual process, if all these people are working from their offices, then these officers will be doing their work very fast. Another challenge or result is tons of documents. Assuming this is a file, referred file, and I want to look for your file, I'll take a lot of time. This is not a very healthy environment to work in. And this person is saying, if I knew that I'll be employed to work in this environment, I should not have taken up this job because it's almost filthy. You can't even trace. Even filing system is a challenge. And that is another challenge of manual processes. This is a stamped ABOFIN entry. It is dated, I can see this stamp is 17 December 2004. If this, assuming we have 17 or 20 partner government agencies, each one of them is stamping on this form, it will be very dirty, and it will be, even like this time of COVID, it will be a disaster in waiting. So let's look at customs new initiatives. One of the initiatives is what we are learning, integrated customs management system, facilitate trade by having a single modern, robust system built on a fast or efficient or the current technology, that is ICMS. Integrate all customs processes into one system. The next one is regional electronic cargo tracking system. This is a system for tracking containers, tracking SUVs. SUV stands for single unit vehicles across the East African partner states. Once you arm the container that is destined to Rwanda, you only need to do it you arm once, and it will be disarmed at the end of the journey. And therefore, REX helps us even to track, to avoid the dumping and also loss of the containers along the gazetted route. Next is integrated scanner management system. We have many scanners in the country. Then we have come up with a system where all these scanners are integrated. They have only one, and we have a scanner command center where they look at after scanning, they look at the images, and they can even analyze and give to the relevant customs offices scanner reports, what to change, what has been concealed. Next, we have OSBPs, one-stop border post. This is a concept for the East African countries where we are sharing the same border with the other customs authority. So what happens is that in OSBP, partner government agencies sit together, and also customs officers for the two countries. For example, let's talk about OSBP in Isebania. We are going to have Tanzania revenue officers in Kenya, and we are going to have Kenyan revenue officers in Tanzania. So cargo coming from Tanzania to Kenya will not be stopped at the Tanzania side, but it will be stopped in the Kenyan side, and verification, joint verification is going to take place at the Kenyan side. The next is authorized economic operator, or AEO. An AEO, or authorized economic operator, is a company that has been vetted by customs and found to be compliant in terms of the financial stability, compliance levels, past history. These people are compliant. When we talk about facilitating them, we are saying we need to pair the AEOs. Let us have an AEO transaction. What is an AEO transaction? Where you pair the importer, AEO importer, AEO clearing agent. And when you are an AEO, then we give you expedited or fast-tracked cargo clearance, and we are going to have even what we call faster, that is from vessel to truck, and no inspection is supposed to take place in the customs area. The last initiative is pre-arrival clearance program. Processing of cargo, processing of documents before arrival of cargo. This began in 2016, and we started with the authorized economic operators, whom we know that they are compliant, so that once taxes have been paid, we will just be waiting for the cargo to come, and then we are going to site and we release cargo. So there will be vessel to truck clearance. If there is need for any inspection or verification, this is going to be done at the importer's premises. Let's look at Simba and its subsystems. This is an example of the systems that are talking to SIBA. Some of them, they just receive the data and there's no two-way communication. This is MMS, Manifest Management System. Sends the data on Manifest, bill of lading to SIBA to enable submission of declaration. SIBA sends the information to MMS to enable the striking of weights and packages. Let me get another one. ECTS, TCRS, VMS, RADEX, courses for petroleum products. RADEX, I talked about data exchange. Vehicle management system has been replaced by what we call TIMS. Transport Information Management System. So these teams of VMS gets information from SIBA about motor vehicle. So you can see SIBA has other subsystems. These systems are standalone. They don't communicate to SIBA. And this is a challenge because you are saying SIBA is running on multiplicity of systems, most of them being standalone. Sorry. The current SIBA 2000 system runs on what we are calling multiplicity of subsystems that require multiple points of authentication for users, and this leads to a lot of time, a lot of delays, and we have various logins. These systems are what I'm calling stand-alones. What are the challenges of current clearance process? One of the challenges is we have duality of the process. We are having both manual processes and automated. For example, an entry is submitted in SIBA. Taxes, there is an error. Maybe there is payment of taxes by error. So when a refund is requested, refund process is manual. Look at licensing. Licensing is manual, but keeping the record is in the system. So this duality erodes the gains that they have gained from the automation process. Then we have system challenges like performance and security. The SIBA system was implemented 15 years ago, where we are talking about obsolete what? Obsolete technology. This affects the performance of system in terms of the dummy entries, the downtimes, the errors are very many. Security, we are talking about passwords. They are sharing passwords. And when you share passwords, then there are so many challenges that can happen in the system. And the last challenge is poor integration of the systems. The systems don't talk to each other. They are not harmonized. Data elements are not the same. And if there is poor integration of systems, then it means that some of the systems processes must be completed as manual processes, and consequently, we are going to have delays. Let's look at the lessons learned. We have walked the journey from 1980s to current before we implement ICMS. So what are the factors? What lessons have we learned? One of the lessons that we have learned is that we need to have stakeholder involvement. Stakeholder involvement or engagement should start with when we are talking about elicitation of the requirements, that collection of the requirements. Let's go to the stakeholders. Who are the customs stakeholders? What are their pain areas? How can we assist them? When we involve the stakeholders, even in the testing, in the piloting, in the rollout, there will be a faster uptake of the system. On the other hand, if we don't involve our stakeholders, we are going to have a resistance to change. They will resist, and we can see this by the way the uptake of the system. They will not be ready to use the system. But when you involve them, they know that this is our system. And these are the lessons that we are carrying to ICMS. Let's involve our stakeholders faster. Let's inform them, even in the introduction, the requirements. Let's have a sitting. Let's have a talk to them. Next is top leadership support is critical. If we have political will, top management as a support, we are going far. Because when we request for the resources, they will be provided for. But if there is no top leadership support, we will not succeed. We will take a lot of time. We will continue piloting. We will never roll out the system. Another lesson learned is the use of phased rollout approach. In SIMBA 2005, we implemented what we call Big Bang. Everything was, all the modules were done the same. Some of them had errors, and we had a lot of resistance to change. Why? Because we did not phase out our modules. It is important you employ phased rollout. Look at the quick wins. Look at the first ones which we can roll. We can even say, let's phase the cluster our users. Let's start with Jomo Kenyatta. If it succeeds, then let's go to another airport. Let's start from Mombasa. If it succeeds, let's do it in the ICD. In that way, then it's like we are testing the system, whether it's working or not. The last lesson learned is capacity building and change management. When we talk about change management, it is the change of the mind, or what we call mindset. Let's involve them. Let's tell them change is coming. And I love this methodology called ADKAR. A-D-K-A-R. ADKAR. A for, not A for. A for you arouse people, you have the desire, give the first one, A is for awareness. You are aware that the system is coming. You arouse their desire. D is the desire is there. We are telling you ICMS is coming. All of you, you are expectant. Then we come for the training. Training then is a K. You trained, then you acquire knowledge. When you acquire knowledge, then you are able, ability. A is for ability. You are able to use the system. And the last R is reinforcement. Reinforcement can be refresher training, sensitization, brochures, or can be rewards that we give you. That is what we are calling change management. Let us not have so many systems. Let us not only concentrate on technology, forgetting the people side of the implementation. And capacity building talks about training, transfer of knowledge for the project staff, for the ICT, transfer knowledge from the developers, from the analysts to the users. And when we have capacity building, then we are going to have a workforce, both internally KRA and also externally, for the system users to fully embrace the system. These are the lessons that we are carrying forward to ICMS. When we come to implementation of the ICMS, we want to make sure that everybody is trained on the modules that they are going to use. There is change management, there is engagement, there is knowledge transfer, there is training, you are able, there is reinforcement. And then we are saying in ICMS, we are going to have a phased rollout. We started in Jomo Kenyatta. Now we are coming up with the sea manifest, sea cargo, containerized cargo. And when we are fully done, then we are going to fully roll out ICMS, and we are going to stop SIMBA usage. What is the solution of this? Implementation of the integrated customs management system. It is going to solve all those issues. We are going to employ the lessons that we have looked at in journey. So, a summary of today's lesson, we have looked at where are we coming from, manual processes to semi-manual, semi-automated, and where we are now going is we are going to implement the integrated customs management system. It is a game changer. It's going to change the way business is done. It's going to fast track, facilitate the clearance of cargo, is going to seal the loopholes that we have. It is going to enable us to meet the revenue. And above all, it is going to enable us meet our mandate of revenue collection, facilitation of legitimate trade, protection of the society from importation and exportation of harmful products. And lastly, not the least, is going to help us collect international trade statistics. So welcome on board MV ICMS. That is the end of the lesson. Let's have the discussion. Thank you very much.